Blessings, BookTube. It's Tag Tuesday.
I like to read. You do too. Let's get ridiculous.
All right, we got our theme song back. I finally found where it was hiding in my phone. Thanks to my brother for that and his wonderful wife, Angel, singing along. Okay, so you can listen to my brother's wonderful music on his site ZenPoint Media. Today's tag is called the Generally Speaking book tag. And I'm returning to recycling tags of old. I'm sure there's going to be some seasonal tags this month that I'll need to do, but I found that I was drifting a bit too far from bookish content. I did a lot of tags on music and seasons, and I really want to keep it about books. So and I also love looking through the old tags. There's some amazing ones. This old booktube theme is going to be developed a bit further this month in my posts probably. However, I do want to credit this tag to Alice and the Giant Bookshelf, or at least that's who I'm looking at it on. Let's see. She said it was created by Ali at Criminali .blog. She was tagged by A.G. Dunn, and she tagged Burner Bookish Adventures, who's still around, I know. Great Turkish book content commentator, and Janelle at Two Fonda Books. I'm not familiar with her. I don't know if they're still around. Anyway, 7 prompts. One is a horror book that is in horror. 2 is a book with a terrible crime that is in a crime novel. 3 is a book about love that is in a romance. 4 is a book with a puzzle that is in a mystery. 5 is a book with magic that is into fantasy. 6 is a book that thrilled you that is in a thriller. And 7 is a book with science that is in science fiction. Going to be doing actually a number of genre themed and composite tags this month, so look forward to a few more of these. I thought this one was the best of the bunch. I love these questions. So my first one for a horrifying book that isn't horror, I believe I usually use Elie Wiesel's Night, but in this case I wanted to highlight Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. What I love about this book is that, yes, while the first half of the book is all about surviving the concentration camps, the second half of that book is about living after the survival, sort of passing from what we call rescue to recovery mode in disaster work. So he becomes a logotherapist, and he develops a whole range of therapeutic techniques for working with people, not just Holocaust survivors, but people who've survived trauma in general, and with that I think is a wonderful therapeutic model for everyone. So that's a great book, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. I'll write these titles down below for you. Now the second about the crime, I didn't spot that terrible crime, so I sort of half dodged this. Well, I guess the first thing that came to my mind was Exodus, because Moses was a murderer, but sort of, oh well, yeah, that gets brushed aside. Now that is a terrible crime, murder. But I actually went the other route. So I was thinking of the innocent man, the falsely accused, but I thought it'd be more interesting to explore someone who commits a crime that isn't really a crime. So I thought of Mice and Men because of the next question. Obviously, at the end there is a killing, which, whether or not you believe it's a mercy killing, what I find interesting is this idea of mercy killing, whether it's crime or not. In other words, the right to death, which for me, the right to life implies the right to death. And I believe in Canada it's allowed, but as far as I know in the States, assisted suicide is still not legal. Anyway, the next question, the book about love that is in romance, was easy. I thought, oh, any other form of love, motherly love, brotherly love. So I thought of brotherly love, so then I thought of Mice and Men. I also thought of the Ramayana, but that has the romantic elements, right, of Rama and Sita. But I was thinking more of Rama's brother. I think I mentioned this recently, where he's when Rama's exiled into the forest and his brother is made king, his brother puts Rama's shoes, his sandals on the throne. to say that, Rama will always be king. And just the beautiful brotherly love that you have in the Ramayana is great. I believe Pra Apumani, the epic poem of Thailand, if I remember correctly, I think also has a nice set of brothers. Of course, they're the hero twins in Dene Bahane, which is the Navajo creation work. Monster Slayer and is it Born for Water? I can't remember the other one. And then also the Popova, the Quiche Maya creation story has also the twins that go down and play ball in hell, Ixbalanque and Yachita. I can't remember the other one's name either. So anyway, lots of great brothers. Okay, magic. No, yeah, is it? Puzzle. A book that's a puzzle that isn't a mystery. Well, this one was easy. I would have put it anyway, except even if puzzles weren't an integral theme and motif of the book. So there's a book by Georges Perec called "Life: A User's Manual," in which he sort of takes the front off of an office, not an office, an apartment building in Paris, and looks at the lives and interconnections and histories of all those residents, but also the rooms of prior residents, and they all have crazy stories. It's almost, well, you can read it linearly, but it invites many different kinds of readings. It was written in the spirit of Oulipo, of which Perec was a member. That's the Oeuvre de littérature potentielle, which is the workshop of potential literature, to which Italo Calvino belonged, among others. Not just writers, scientists. Their idea was that constraints aided creativity. So they would, Perec wrote the whole book without the letter E and those kinds of things. But anyway, and one of the main characters in this book starts traveling and taking postcard photos from different places around the world, and then having those cut up into puzzles. I can't tell you any more about it. You just got to check it out. Puzzles play a big role in Life: A User's Manual. And actually, Perec was a crucigraphist. I don't know. He wrote crosswords as well. Really interesting guy. Okay, he's in the Guinness Book of World Records for having written the world's longest palindrome, I believe, or was at one point. 5 now is the magic that isn't a fantasy. Well, I thought of magicians for this one. For example, Ziller in the another roadside attraction was a magician before opening his hot dog stand, and Flea circus, whatever crazy roadside attraction in Tom Robbins, another roadside attraction. Tom Robbins himself is quite a magician with words. And I also thought of Italo Calvino's Buried in the Trees, because although it's called magical realism, because this guy lives his whole life in the trees, there's actually no magic in the book. If you go through it, I don't think there's a single instance of anything beyond physics. And if you say, well, how can someone live their whole life up in the trees? Well, I can tell you that we have precedent, perhaps not of trees, but although there are the tree occupiers in Berkeley and such that stayed up for quite some time. But there were the stylite, not patriarchs, but the early Christian stylites, right? Who went up a pillar and lived on top of a pillar their whole life. Simon stylites, among others. So very possible. Okay, thriller. What thrilled me that wasn't a thriller? Well, all of the epic, national epics and epic poems are generally considered, you're not considered thrillers because they're their own genre, but almost are thrilling. So some that I love are Shahnameh with the Rostran's adventures. You got Sundiata, right, from Mali, the Lion King. And more modern one, you have Martin Fierro, the story of the Gaucho, Martin Fierro by Hernandez. Take your pick of any of those great epics. And lastly, we have a book with science that isn't science fiction. So I'm always trotting out Matthiessen, Peter Matthiessen, the great naturalist birder who tracked a snow leopard and lots of great titles. I've been obsessing over river monsters lately on TV, well on YouTube, and I think the reason that naturalists can sometimes make great travelers is that they have a common love with more traditional peoples. I think they integrate them well because you come in, you just love fish that much, and they love fish, and you're like, oh yeah, we have a common thing, and it's sort of more natural while you're there. Looking at plants or checking out the crops or whatever you're doing. I think that's why perhaps I had an easier time of it than some in my time in the Sahara as a forester, because I could bond with people over the trees. But anyway, it's a whole digression. Today I wanted to mention someone new because I try to not repeat myself. I think I did trot him out in one of my earliest tags, but I haven't had him out in a long, long time. So I wanted to bring out Aldo Leopold. Okay, who's Aldo Leopold? Well, for many, he's one of the first ecologists in America to really talk about the ecology. When he worked for the Forestry Service in New Mexico, and he founded the Gila Wilderness, the first American wilderness, which is where I encountered him on a training by Pheasants Forever for environmental education. Beautiful place. Anyway, they were shooting the wolves, and then he realized, taking out the apex predators, what it did to the whole ecosystem. But anyway, he's more famous for Sand County Almanac. So he wrote, that's up in Wisconsin, I want to say, where he's from. And he wrote this book. And I want to tell you that, when we walk, how impoverished we are that we aren't taught anymore our natural environment. I say we, although some of you may be watching me in very natural, intact places and have intact natural traditions still. But most of you will be watching me, in the West and in more places more distant to nature. And I'm in Bangkok, this crazy city. And, when he walks through this forest, he reads that forest. I mean, there's thousands of stories. We walk through the forest, maybe we recognize a tree. We feel kind of calm, but we really don't know what's going on. There's not, that much to get out of it. I know a lot of people get bored when they go camping. I tell you, I was never bored with the stars in the Sahara. But if you knew all of the richness that's going on there in nature, the way Aldo Leopold does, but what his gift was, his way with words, he was able to translate that into my language, into the literary language, to make me really know that richness and pine for it. And I'll be forever grateful for that. Really amazing. San Calmi Almanac by Aldo Leopold. That's the 7th one. And I'll put the titles down below, along with the folks I'm tagging for this. Look forward to a couple more genre-related tags out of this month. And be well.